You're beautiful is the most used compliment in the world, and it's also one of the fastest ways to become invisible to the woman you're trying to attract. You say it thinking you're being direct and honest. You think you're making her feel special. But what's actually happening in that moment is that she's filtering you into a category with thousands of other men who said the exact same thing. If traditional compliments don't work, what does? What language actually makes a woman feel seen instead of evaluated? Why do some men's words create genuine connection while others create polite distance? By the end of this video, you'll know 8 specific phrases that replace generic beauty compliments, why each one works on a psychological level, and exactly what makes them land where "you're beautiful" fails. You'll understand the pattern that connects all 8, and you'll be able to deploy them naturally in real conversation without sounding rehearsed or calculated. This isn't about tricks. It's about understanding the language that actually activates attraction instead of just triggering politeness. When you tell a woman she's beautiful, you think you're making her feel special. You think you're being direct and honest about your attraction, but her brain processes it completely differently than you intend. Every woman on the planet hears this compliment regularly, from strangers, from colleagues, from other men who thought they were being original. Her brain has learned to filter it out as background noise. You're essentially telling her something she already knows about herself, something she's heard so many times that it no longer carries meaning. The real problem isn't that you're complimenting her. The problem is that you're complimenting the one thing that requires no effort from her to possess. Her appearance happened without her participation. She didn't choose to be beautiful, she just is. When you compliment that, you're complimenting something she takes for granted about herself. You're not making her feel special. You're making her feel like she's been reduced to her looks. And that's not what activates attraction. The women who actually feel genuinely attracted aren't the ones getting complimented on their beauty. They're the ones getting something else entirely, something that has nothing to do with how she looks. There's a fundamental difference between how female attraction actually works and how most men think it works. And once you understand this difference, everything changes about how you communicate. When a woman feels attracted to someone, her brain isn't responding to praise about her appearance. Her brain is responding to the feeling of being understood. When you compliment her beauty, you're showing her that you see what everyone else sees. When you observe something specific about her character, her choices, or her behavior, you're showing her that you see what almost nobody bothers to look for. That's the neurological difference. Generic praise triggers the social brain circuits. It's polite, it's pleasant, but it doesn't create intimacy. Specific observation triggers the intimacy circuits. It signals genuine attention. It signals that you've spent mental energy not on being impressed, but on actually understanding her. This is what separates men who activate real attraction from men who just make women feel polite. The distinction lives in the language you choose. So what are these 8 phrases? They're not random. They follow a specific pattern, and once you understand that pattern, you can create your own versions that fit any situation. The first 3 phrases all share one thing in common. They move the focus from how she looks to what she does, how she thinks, and who she actually is. The first phrase is, "I notice you." This is incredibly powerful because it anchors your observation in something tangible. Not, "I think you're interesting." Not, "You seem smart." "I notice you." And then you reference something specific she's done or said or chosen. I notice you ask follow-up questions that most people don't bother with. I notice you're careful with how you talk about people when they're not in the room. This phrase works because the word notice implies genuine observation. It means you've watched long enough to detect a pattern. You haven't just formed an impression, you've gathered evidence. The second phrase is, "the way you." This one targets how she does things. The way you listen makes conversations feel safe. The way you think about problems is different from how most people approach them. The way you challenge your own assumptions shows real integrity. This phrase is powerful because it references action and choice, not fixed traits. She could theoretically change the way she does things, but you're observing that the way she currently does things is notable. You're recognizing her method, her approach, her style. The third phrase is, you're someone who. This one anchors identity. You're someone who genuinely cares about understanding people before judging them. You're someone who follows through on what matters to you. You're someone who makes other people feel like they belong. These three phrases work because they're based on behavior you can actually observe. They're not about appearance. They're not about what you hope she is. They're about what you've actually witnessed. These first three phrases work because they're based on behavior you can actually observe. But there are three more that work differently. They target her emotional world instead of her actions. The next three phrases are subtly different. They're less about what you observe her doing and more about what you experience when you're around her. The fourth phrase is, you make me. This one is powerful because it shifts the focus to your internal experience. You make me want to be more honest. You make me think about things differently. You make me remember why I actually care about having real conversations. Now, you might be thinking this sounds like a compliment about her again, but it's not. It's about her effect on you. It's about what she generates in your presence. This is profoundly different neurologically. She's not being evaluated, she's being recognized as a catalyst. The fifth phrase is, it's rare when someone. This one positions her as uncommon without comparing her to others. It's rare when someone actually listens instead of just waiting for their turn to talk. It's rare when someone admits they were wrong instead of defending their position. It's rare when someone chooses authenticity over approval. This phrase works because it acknowledges that most people don't do what she does. You're not saying she's better than other women. You're saying that the thing she does is uncommon in the general population. That's a recognition that feels different. The sixth phrase is, I appreciate how you. This one ties appreciation to her values, not her appearance. I appreciate how you stand up for what matters to you even when it's unpopular. I appreciate how you make time for the people you care about. I appreciate how thoughtful you are when someone is struggling. These three phrases access her emotional world. They recognize her impact on others and on you specifically. They operate at a different level of intimacy. Two more phrases remain, and these are the most powerful because they operate at the deepest level. They reference who she is becoming and who she allows you to be around her. The final two phrases are different from all the others because they're not really about her at all. They're about what she creates in the space around her. The seventh phrase is, you bring out. This one positions her as a catalyst for growth and transformation in others. You bring out the best in people around you without even trying. You bring out honesty in me that I don't usually show others. You bring out a version of myself I actually like being. This phrase is remarkable because it doesn't compliment her directly. It complements what happens to other people when she's present. Her mere presence shifts the dynamic. Her existence in your space changes what's possible. That's a profound recognition. The eighth phrase is, there's something about your. This one connects her qualities to deep, almost ineffable impact without fully defining what it is. There's something about your presence that makes people feel safe. There's something about your energy that makes ordinary moments feel meaningful. There's something about your perspective that helps me see things I've been missing. This phrase is subtle. It acknowledges that there's something there, something real, but it doesn't try to package it into a neat definition. It leaves space for the mystery of what makes her her. These phrases don't compliment, they recognize. Now you have all 8 phrases, but knowing them and using them are completely different things. The mistakes men make determine whether these phrases build attraction or sound calculated. You can know all 8 phrases perfectly, but if you deploy them at the wrong moment or with the wrong energy, they collapse into something that sounds calculated. Women's attraction is contextual. She has to have done something or said something or shown something that gives you legitimate ground to use these phrases. There are specific moments when they land with maximum impact, and missing those windows is where most men sabotage themselves without realizing it. The first context is immediately after she's revealed something. Not necessarily something deeply personal, but something that takes vulnerability. She's told you about a fear or a goal or something she cares about that you didn't know before. She's lowered a guard. In that moment, when she's just exposed herself slightly, An observation about what that vulnerability revealed lands completely differently than the same observation would land in casual conversation. The second context is during genuine connection, where the conversation has shifted into something more real. You've moved past surface talk. You're actually exchanging thoughts about something that matters. She's tracked what you've said carefully. She's building on your ideas. She's genuinely engaged. When you make an observation in that moment, it feels like a natural reflection of what's already happening between you. The third context is when she has just done something that surprised even her. She said something strong after telling you she usually stays quiet. She laughed hard after saying she doesn't usually let people make her laugh. She took a risk she claims she never took. When she's just surprised herself, that's when an observation about her capacity lands deepest. You're witnessing her becoming. But there's one element that determines whether these phrases build real attraction or just make you sound like you've studied a script. Here's what separates men who activate real attraction with these phrases and men who sound creepy. Authentic observation. These phrases only work if you actually mean them, and you can only actually mean them if you've spent enough time genuinely noticing her, not scanning for something to compliment, but watching how she moves, how she responds, what she chooses. This is the element that cannot be faked. Women have developed an almost supernatural ability to detect when a man is looking for something to use versus when a man is genuinely trying to understand. Of course, context always matters, and some women are more perceptive than others. But on average, the female brain processes intention with remarkable accuracy. If you're using these phrases because you've learned they work, she will sense that. If you're using these phrases because you've genuinely observed something true about her, she will sense that too. When you genuinely observe someone, you notice things that aren't immediately visible. You notice how her energy changes when she talks about something she cares about versus when she's making polite conversation. You notice what makes her guard drop. You notice the specific things that make her laugh, not just that she has a sense of humor. You notice how she treats people who can't do anything for her. You notice what she values by watching how she spends her time and attention. This kind of observation requires patience. It requires that you actually care about understanding her, not just about getting a specific reaction from her. Once you understand that these 8 phrases are just expressions of something you've actually noticed, everything clicks into place. These 8 phrases aren't random. They follow a pattern. And once you understand the pattern, you have access to infinite versions tailored to the specific woman in front of you. All 8 follow a specific grammatical and psychological structure. Observation plus specificity plus certainty. That's the formula. You observe something, you be specific about what you've observed, and you state it with certainty, not as a question. The observation part is where you identify what you've actually witnessed, the behavior, the choice, the impact, the pattern. The specificity is what makes it impossible for her to dismiss. It's not vague, it's not generic. It's about her, not about women in general. The certainty is your delivery. You state it as fact, not as something you're testing. You don't say, "Do you think you're brave?" You say you're brave. You don't say, "Maybe you care about people." You say you care deeply about people. This formula works neurologically because it signals confidence without neediness. You're not asking her to validate your observation. You're simply stating what you've seen. When you understand this formula, you can move beyond the 8 phrases entirely. You can create infinite variations that fit whatever situation you're in. But that power only exists if you remember what makes the formula work in the first place. It's not magic words, it's the structure underneath the words. Understanding the phrases is only the first part. The second part is knowing when and how to use them so they land as genuine observation instead of rehearsed technique. Timing matters more than the phrase itself. There are specific moments when these observations land with maximum impact, and deploying them at the wrong time turns them from connection building to awkward. The best moments are after she's revealed something vulnerable, after she's shared a goal or a fear or something she cares about. In that moment, when her defenses are down, An observation about what that revelation showed you lands with full force. Another prime moment is during genuine connection, where the conversation has already shifted into something deeper. You're no longer in small talk territory. You're in the realm of actual exchange. Ideas are being shared. Real thoughts are being articulated. When you make an observation in that moment, it feels like a natural reflection of what's happening between you. A third moment is immediately after she surprised herself. She said something strong. She laughed hard. She took a risk. The energy is different. She's just shown herself something new. In that moment, recognizing what you just witnessed lands with particular impact. How you deliver matters just as much as when. You deliver these phrases with certainty, not as questions seeking validation. You don't hedge. You don't soften with qualifiers. You state what you've observed as if you trust your own perception. That certainty is what creates the sense of confidence. But there's a difference between certainty and arrogance. Certainty about what you've observed is grounded in actual attention. Arrogance is certainty about who she is as a person. You're certain about what you've seen. You're not claiming to know her completely. You're simply naming what's visible to you. The most common mistake men make is timing these phrases too early, before there's actually something to observe. They deliver an observation about a woman they've just met, and it sounds presumptuous because they haven't yet earned the ground to make that observation. Give it time. Let the conversation develop. Let her show you who she is before you comment on it. Once you understand that these 8 phrases are just expressions of something you've actually noticed, everything clicks into place. Everything you've learned in this video comes down to one simple principle. Women are attracted to men who actually see them, not flatter them, not admire them from a distance, actually see them, understand them, notice them in ways that require genuine attention and time. The 8 phrases you've learned are powerful not because of some magic in the language itself. They're powerful because they're the natural byproduct of real observation. When you stop trying to impress and you start trying to understand, when you move from scanning for compliments to actually paying attention, the words that come out of your mouth change entirely. You no longer reach for beautiful or amazing. Those words become almost offensive to you because you know they flatten someone who is far more complex than her appearance. You start reaching for words that are true because you've actually seen what you're describing. That shift happens naturally. It's not forced. When you genuinely shift from trying to impress to trying to understand, your language shifts with you. The specific phrases emerge from real observation. The certainty comes from actual conviction, not performed confidence. The impact comes from authenticity, not from memorizing a script. You don't need to overthink this. You don't need to become obsessive about analyzing every word you say. The moment you genuinely commit to paying attention instead of planning your next compliment, the language takes care of itself. This is what separates men who activate genuine attraction from men who trigger polite interest. One group is playing a game, the other group is genuinely present. And women feel that difference in every word. In the comments below, tell me which of these 8 phrases feels most natural for you to use, and why. Not which one sounds the coolest, which one actually feels like something you could say without sounding like you're reading from a script. The ones that stick with you are the ones that already match how you naturally think. That's valuable information about yourself. Share that in the comments. I read every single comment you leave, and I respond to the ones that show real insight. The reason I ask is because these moments are where genuine connection lives. Not in the words you've memorized, not in the techniques you've studied, in the actual things you've noticed that make someone singular and real to you. That's what this channel is about. Understanding female psychology not as a puzzle to solve, but as something to genuinely honor. Every video I release goes deeper into how women think, what they actually respond to, and how to build real attraction through authenticity instead of performance. If you want to understand the deeper patterns of female behavior, if you want to know how women actually experience attraction and connection, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Next video, I'm revealing the single timing mistake that turns these perfect phrases into red flags, the moment men sabotage themselves without realizing it.